And welcome to Filmmaking Today. I'm your host, Bojan Dulabic. So in this episode, we're going to take a look at the Olympus OMD EM5 Mark II camera, which I have been using now for about 5 months or so. And it is my primary camera for photos and my secondary camera for videos. So let's take a look at the image quality first. Now, as you can see here, this is a raw image unaltered. And then here we have it altered. It is a very sweet camera. It is a 16 megapixel camera, which is a standard for Micro Four Thirds. It has a resolution of 4608 by 3456, which again is a standard resolution for Micro Four Thirds. It's very clean, very crisp. I took this on my honeymoon and I was using it as my main camera. I had just this camera and 2 lenses. I was mostly using a 14 to 42 kit lens, and then I used a 50 to 150 just for a few shots. One of the things I really love about this camera is how fast it is. For example, we were on this train and I was taking photos from the moving train, and it was going pretty fast. These are all the images I took from that train. And yes, I have altered it obviously, but still this was taken from a moving train. The images are very sharp and the camera is incredibly fast, and that is just amazing. It makes your life so much easier when you're on the go, running and gunning it, and you just don't have time to do a proper setup. These images were also taken from a tour bus. Again, it was moving, it was driving through Barcelona, and the quality is just incredible. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Because we were visiting different places, I didn't have time to stop and do the proper thing and all that stuff. I just had to go boom, boom, boom. And this camera definitely delivered when it comes to that. Now, another cool thing is that this camera has 20 different art filters. So as you can see here, this is one image I took once, and it took it in 4 different versions, applying 4 different filters. Now you can go as high as 20 filters. Now keep in mind, the problem with that is you can take one image and it will process it right there and it will give you 20 different versions. However, that's going to take a couple of seconds, 2-3 seconds or so. So if you are in a hurry, you might not want to go all the way. And then obviously if you take 20 images at the same time, your battery is going to suffer and your storage is going to suffer. So keep all these things in mind. But if you shoot 1 to 4 art filters, it's fine. It's almost instantaneous once you press that shutter button. Now, another cool thing is that you can shoot in different modes. So here's an image that I took in just regular mode. And here's that same image I took in HDR mode that is exposed for the foreground and the background. Another cool thing is that it has a 40 megapixel mode. Now, what that means is the camera, it shoots 8 pictures and it combines them into a single JPEG using what they call sensor shift. So it will take one photo, the sensor will shift, it'll take another photo, and so on. Now, this does take some time, so you can't just be run and gun with that one. It's available in all the shooting modes, and you can either do RAW plus JPEG or just JPEG. When it comes to resolutions, that's where the kicker is. When you shoot in JPEG, you can go as high as 7296 by 5472, or in RAW, you can go as high as 9216 by 6912, which is just incredible. However, here's the con, and this is actually a pretty big con. The camera must be still. It has to be on a tripod, and also there cannot be any movement in the image, because as the sensor moves, that's going to be distorted. That's a bit of a downer, and it really means you can use this feature for landscape photography, architectural photography, and that kind of stuff, which, I mean, if that's what you do, this can be a very, very handy feature. Now, when it comes to video, there are some really, really nice features here. Now, first of all, it shoots in various frame rates. It goes from 24 all the way up to 60, and then you can do 48p, 720, or 1080p. Now, the kicker here is that you can go all the way from 18 megabits per second up to 77 megabits per second, and that's where this camera really stands apart from other Micro Four Thirds cameras in this category. Again, depending on what you're doing, in my case, I have my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, and that's my main camera because it shoots up to 224 megabits per second, somewhere around there. Obviously, this is not going to come close to that. However, again, depending on what you're doing, this could be a primary camera. In my case, it's a B camera, and it works fine. I mean, I used this actually for a couple insert shots in my feature film, which was shot mostly on the Blackmagic, and then, like I said, I used this one for a couple of shots. And it worked out really nicely. You can't tell the difference. Another thing that makes this incredible is image stabilization, and this is just amazing. I wish my Blackmagic had that. So here's a comparison video between my old T3i and this one. Now, I was just walking down the street. I had two cameras connected to each other, and I was just holding them. And I mean, the difference is just incredible. The stabilization you get with this guy is just amazing. All this, I was just hand holding the camera, and for most situations, again, especially if it's a run and gun type of a situation, you don't even need a tripod. If you have a steady hand, you're gonna be able to get some amazing stuff done. When it comes to low light and ISO settings, here is an image with ISO 200, f-stop 1.4, shutter 60, and when you zoom at 400%, it's not bad. Obviously, there's some grain here, but this is a very low light situation. There's one light that's above the car. As we go into 400 ISO and then 800, obviously the grain gets more and more visible, which is normal. And this one goes all the way up to 6400. You probably don't want to use it at 64. Here's an example. Now I have actually turned off the light above. There's only one light in the background that lights it. So this is virtually pitch black, and the fact you can still see something. And yes, the noise is obviously very, very grainy at this point. But if we go down to 2500 and you take a look at the noise, yes, it's there. But again, considering how little light there is, it's actually not bad. Now, another cool thing is that this camera has Wi-Fi built in. You can control it from your mobile device. All you have to do is you press the Wi-Fi button on the camera, and then on the app, you click this button here, you click Easy Setup, and then the scan button, and then you scan a QR code that appears on the LCD display, and then you're connected to it. You can remotely control it, import photos, edit, and add geolocations. So this is in video mode, and you got various options. You can adjust the f-stop, and then you can adjust the shutter speed, and it's very quick adjustable. You can adjust the white balance, and unfortunately that's where it ends for video. I do wish they had more control when it comes to video. I'd love to have ISO control. It's there, but it's grayed out. It doesn't work. I can't zoom in, zoom out. So that's a bit of a bummer. Now you can switch between all the different modes when it comes to photos and then video. And if you want to record video, just hit that button there, and that's it. Now again, once you're in it, you have no control. Once you press that button, you have no control. So I wish we had more control over that. Now when we switch to, let's say, aperture priority mode, you do have more settings. So you've got the same settings. You've got f-stop here. And then here you have ISO settings, which is cool. It gives you a bit more control. And then of course, white balance and all that. And then you just press this button and it takes a photo, and that's it. Now, the cool thing is if you want to import that photo onto your device, your phone in this case, you just press this button up here, hit save, and boom, it gets transferred to your phone. Now, if you want to import photos you have taken with your camera, you just go on import photos, select whichever photos you want, or video in this case, and then you just save it to your device. Now, this is a very, very handy feature which I have used a lot. If you want to quickly post something to Instagram or Facebook, once you start doing it, you realize, wow, I can just do so many things. Now, another cool thing is that you have a lot of programmable buttons on this thing, which is awesome. I wish my Blackmagic had that. So if you take a look here, you have your standard dial with all the standard buttons. You have your up, down button menu and all that. But then if you take a look at these two knobs, that's where the magic is. So you can program them for a lot of things. In my case, one here is programmed for ISO. Anytime I can just dial it up, down, and I can adjust the ISO. And then with the other dial, I can adjust the white balance. But the kicker is, it's this switch right here. So when you flip that, you can program it again. So in my case, now I can adjust the f-stop, again, up and down, boom, and I can adjust the shutter, which is really, really cool. You also have your standard LCD screen, which you can swivel and rotate. Another cool thing is the external flash that comes with it. So it's not a built-in flash. This is actually a small external flash that you can rotate, you can tilt up and down, which gives you a lot more control. Now, it's not a powerful flash, but it allows you to bounce light off the ceiling, the walls, and it's hell of a lot better than any built-in flash. So I do use it at times, and it works really nicely. Now, the menu options are a curse and a blessing at the same time. There's a lot of stuff here, and I'm talking a lot, which is great, but it can get confusing. If you take a look at the main menu here, as you can see, all these options, Now, when you go into one of them, you are presented with a lot more sub options, which is great, but there's definitely a steep learning curve for the menu. And some things like the 40 megapixel mode, it is buried in the menu, so it's not that easy to get to it. Now, all in all, I love this camera. It's not perfect by any means. However, for my needs, it does a great job. And I'm going to keep using it for photography as my main camera and for video as my B camera. And I do think, depending on what you're doing, I think you can use this as your main camera for video. Again, depending on what you're doing. All right, guys, thank you very much. Stay tuned for more. Check me out on social media. Just type in Bojan Dulabic. Sign up for my newsletter. Just go to filmmakingtoday.com and check out my feature film, Project Eugenics, which is now available at projecteugenics.com. And stay tuned for more.